So today's video is going to go over some nutrition hacks. When people start out working out, I know a lot of times everything's so overwhelming and there's a lot to think about, and uh, and a lot of times diet gets pushed back, even though it's one of the most important things. I understand that it's not always the easiest. You're just trying to get into a routine of working out and working on your just being consistent with your workouts. So I want to make a little quick hack thing. It helped a lot of people when I first started out. I did something along these lines, and for a lot of people that have come through this gym, these 5 little hacks have kind of helped. Um, so I'm just gonna get started, and give me 1 second to get this thing going. So So 5 beginner nutrition hacks. Start with number 1 here. Rule number 1: protein with every meal, snack, etc. Basically, protein is a building block of your muscle. If you're not eating protein, it's going to be very hard for you to build muscle. Why do we want to build muscle? Well, losing fat's a good thing, but also building muscle, because building more muscle burns more fat. One of the things I've noticed doing this for a while is people grossly underestimate the amount of protein they take in each day. When people start out, they always say, "Oh yeah, I eat enough protein. I have a lot of protein every day." And I go, "Okay, cool. Let's just add it up for one day and see what you really end up with." They report back to me at the end of the day, and sometimes they end up, 30, 40, 50 grams at the most. It's one of those things you have to really concentrate on and focus on if you're not used to eating this way. So, and it can be challenging. So, we want to have protein every time we put something in our mouth. To go along with that, sometimes taking in the extra protein, it fixes a lot of the other issues that we have going along with snacking and eating junk food and whatnot. And this kind of goes along with rule number 4, which I'll come back to. So rule number 2, it's actually rule 1.5, but never eat fruit by itself. If your concern is body composition, now I'm not saying you can't ever have fruit, but sugar is sugar. Your body doesn't know the difference between sugar from a apple, 30 grams of sugar from an apple, or 30 grams from a Coca-Cola. I know in your mind that might sound like it doesn't make sense, but the sugar portion, all the antioxidants and all the good things are in an apple, okay, fine, that's great. But the sugar, the body takes the sugar and uses it the same way it would use sugar in any other form it came in, whether that be a donut, a Coke, whatever it is. So we want to, especially if you're trying to lose fat, we want to cut out the fruit as much as we can. And in fact, I would recommend, having it probably, one piece a day, one every other day, something like that, if you really have to have it. It's fine to eat in small amounts if you're having it with a protein, but eating it by yourself for this program that we're doing here, let's just avoid it completely, okay? Next, fat doesn't make you fat. So fat's going to be one of those things that's necessary for a lot of the bodily functions, the hormones, brain function, joint ligaments. You're going to need fat. So cutting it out is definitely not going to be a good idea. So fat is more calorie dense. It's 9 grams, 9 calories per gram versus 4 calories per gram in protein and carbohydrate. But eating fat, makes you feel more full. So then you aren't prone to eat as much if you do start adding the fat into your diet. We've been programmed for so long to be so scared of fat. It's the worst thing in the world. If you eat it, you're going to die. Eating bacon, eating eggs, all this stuff is, you're probably going to die if you eat a lot of it. But the science is bearing out that, we got a little bit excited, and those things are not as bad. Obviously, in we don't want to eat only fat. You got to do everything in moderation. But the things that we're most scared of actually probably are beneficial to us in some form. Rule number 4: worry about adding protein into your diet more than cutting out the things you want to do. So when people start out, there's a tendency for people to worry about, oh, I'm gonna have to give up this, I'm gonna have to give up that. Let's not even think about things in those terms. What we want to think about is just adding this protein in. If you start adding the protein in, um, it takes away a lot of the cravings for the junk food that you want because you're full already. I stated that back in, I think, rule number 1. But anyway, adding more protein fixes a lot of these problems we have with snacking and eating junk. It's more filling. Oftentimes, when you eat protein, there's more fat with it, so again, you're more satiated, and you don't have those as much of those urges to eat junk food. So I want everybody to get that out of their head that fat is bad. This last rule is don't worry about any supplementations other than protein and fish oil starting out. Main reason for that is most supplements that are out there are crap. They don't really do anything. And I've tried every single one, and I still try. When they come out, I'm like, maybe this will work, maybe this will work. But none of them really give you that much of an edge, and especially in a starting out position, that's just wasted money. You're better off spending the money on higher quality food. Protein's pretty expensive. Meats, fishes, chicken, all that stuff's a little bit more expensive. So save your money, put it into that. Don't spend it on the supplementation. So the supplements I did recommend is protein. So if you're having a hard time getting the recommended dose, so recommended dose is typically 1 gram per pound of body weight. 150 pounds, I'm going to take in 150 grams of protein. And when you're starting out, that can be very challenging. So supplementing with a protein supplement, no problem. The best ones that I found, or the one that I think is probably the most useful, is going to be the whey protein. I don't recommend any brands. I don't know. From what I've heard, they're all come from the same place essentially, and each company buys a big tonnage of it, and then they just add their little proprietary blend stuff to it. So, I mean, go out and get whatever you want. I would recommend getting the cheapest. Costco has these big old bags for like $30 or $40, and they probably last you a month or so. So that's a pretty good investment, and they work just as good. We just want to, if we're short on protein eating our food, or we're having a hard time with that, this is a good way to make up the difference. Fish oil has a ton of benefits. It's been proven to help with inflammation, and just it's one of the things that the science bears out that it's actually useful. It's not one of those things you take and then the next day you feel like, oh my god, it's amazing, my whole life has changed. But over time you will see a difference, in just the way you feel, and a lot of the markers that you might have can be helped by just taking fish oil. This other supplement, the only other supplement that I've seen that has any real benefit is creatine. Now, starting out, I'm not saying you should recommend that you get into it and start using it, but if you want to talk about there's science behind it, creatine's the only one that's been proven, and you actually do feel a difference using it. And I won't go into the whole thing of how it works or why it works, but it just basically gives you a little more muscular endurance. So if you can lift 200 pounds, if you can bench 200 pounds 5 times, take creatine, and after a couple weeks of dosing, you can get up to 5, 6, 7. It does help. I put some more information down below, and you can check that out. But I'm gonna wrap it up there. Let me close this out. So, how does it close out? Okay. So basically, the main point I wanted to make was, I get it. People don't want to start into a diet, and it's overwhelming in the beginning. So try these little 5 hacks if you're having a hard time and you're not seeing quite the results. You're going to start out and you're going to see some results no matter what you do, what you eat, but you're going to hit this little plateau. You're not ready to take on a full-on, diet, some, paleo or carnivore, anything like that. You're not ready quite yet. So if you're not, just try these 5 little hacks and see if that gives you any, see if that helps. I put some links down below for some of the proteins and or the protein that I use. Also, there's a couple links to some information about the benefits of protein, benefits of fat, and the benefits of fish oil and creatine. Thanks for checking this out, and keep it up.